Hey y'all, it's Dr. Court with another episode of The Rewrite, where we are rewriting our ever after unapologetically. I am so tickled to introduce my guest today. Y'all have to give me a minute. I'm going to be a total fangirl. And if you listen to episode 1, y'all know I stutter when I get overwhelmed. And I am overwhelmed by this woman. She's literally my spirit animal. I swear. Her motto is, a wise woman once said, fuck that shit, lived happily ever after. So how could we not have her on ever after? I mean, come on. She is a best-selling author, award-winning actress, director, podcast host, wife, mama, all around badass. So welcome to the Gabrielle Stone. I'm so excited to have you.
My God, what an epic intro. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, this is like my place with my people. Just from that little intro, I can tell. I'm excited.
We love it. We love it. We love having the deepest, rawest conversations here. And I have to share with the listeners, I've been on Gabrielle's podcast twice, FML Talk. And I tell you what, I own all of her books. I have them all sitting right here, aside from one, because her first book, Eat, Pray, Fuck My Life, I actually shared with a stranger. I had it in my bag. We were talking. She was sharing her life with me. I was like, girl, I got a book for you. And I gave it
I
away.
love it. I love it. That's the best. I always tell people when they go on travels, if they're like ready to part with their copy, to take it and like gift it to someone who they meet that might need it. So I love that.
Yes, and she needed it, and she actually follows me on Instagram now. She sent me a message, said she read it. I think she follows you now too. So
I
she
love
was like,
it.
"This epic." So tell my listeners a little bit about Eat, Pray, Fuck My Life. What brought you to write it? What was your rewrite?
Yeah, the biggest rewrite. So I was married for almost 2 years, and I found out my husband was having an affair with a 19-year-old for 6 months. And I filed for divorce. We split. And very shortly after that, I met a pretty well known Hollywood actor, and we fell in love and just went from 0 to 100, like, meet my family. I'm going to have babies with this person, signed, sealed, delivered. And
Yes.
he invited me on a month-long trip to Italy. 48 hours before we were getting on the plane, he told me he needed to go by himself and broke up with me. And I was absolutely devastated. This man broke my heart like my ex husband never could have done. And I was sitting in my childhood bedroom, and because that's where you move when you're 28 and you get divorced, and was like, well, I can either stay here and be heartbroken, or I can go to Europe and travel for a month by myself. So I took a backpack that was already packed, and I did 6 countries over the span of a month and wrote my book, Eat, Pray, FML.
I love it. I have read that book 3 times. Y'all, when
Yes.
you read it, you go on the journey with her. Personally, have never been fearless enough to travel by myself. I'm hoping that is a bucket list item. So might actually be a bucket list item that I check off to come to one of your
I was just about to
travels.
say, like, why don't you just come with us? Because that's, I feel like, okay, I feel like the fact that this is all about rewriting is so apropos and poignant for my life. Not only was I trying to like become an actress and like that was my sole focus, and then this life event completely shifted me from wanting to do that to being a writer and like having this entirely different career that I had no idea I was going to tap into. And I remember back when I was married, I was like, I just want to like travel and, be paid to do that and like not
Yes.
have to like, grind away in Los Angeles. And lo and behold, through this experience, after all of the rewrites had been done, I do get to do that now. I host trips with women who have read the books or listened to the podcast, and we meet in different epic locations and travel for a week. And it's this beautiful bridge between I want to solo travel and have that experience like Gabrielle had, but I'm also terrified. So it's a good mix of like, let's get on a plane, go to a new country alone, but then you meet a bunch of people that you inevitably become bonded sisters with. And it's so beautiful. And I'm so blessed to be able to do that. So, yes, you should totally come on a trip with us.
I am sold. Like, sign me up right now. I have been following along to see which ones will align the best. So let me ask you something. So, as someone who has been through very similar parallels, where I lived this entire life as a nurse, I was married, I did all the shoulds and the things, who then blew up my entire life and became an author and publisher.
Mm-hmm.
I have sort of found my ever after. I'm remarried to a wonderful, wonderful man. So I'm not in that phase of like I'm still searching. I feel like I found it, but I do feel a little like I'm still searching for myself. So is that still a good trip, even though my ever after seems to have arrived for me?
Oh, 100%. We have people who are single. We have people, I think my youngest that's ever come on one of the trips was 26. My oldest is 62.
I'll love that.
Oh yeah, it's always a mix. There's people that are happily married that have like never had their heart broken in their life and just want to travel and have the experiences to bond with other women. And then there's people who have like had stories that make mine look like easy walk in the park. So it's a
Yeah.
whole mix of people. And I think that what's so special about travel, which is why so many people connect with the first book in the first place, is that it opens you up to find different parts of yourself. The biggest thing I got from going on that trip by myself and inevitably writing about it was I found different parts of me that I didn't even know existed. I was able to meet a new version of myself because I was always so scared of being alone, and that showed up from me attracting different relationships and filling my time with being with friends or watching TV or scrolling on my phone. Like I was never truly just alone. And that trip allowed me to see not only do I actually love being alone, but it was empowering, and it made me realize that I'm safe and that I didn't need anyone else to fill that void that I had within me. And that was really life changing for me.
I love that. I love that. So many of my listeners and authors and people that have come across it all sort of seems to boil down to that one thread, safe. And it's whether you've gone through grief from loss, death of a loved one, whether you have abandonment issues, divorce, traumas, it all boils down to that layer of safety, I think. But you've got to get to that layer, which there's a part in your book, and it's a theory that I love because I also bought your journal and it's in there too. The
Hmm.
thought onion that kind of
Yeah.
brings you to that, where you can kind of peel back those layers and see, is it safety that you're craving? Is it because of abandonment? Like you can really get to the heart of it. So, how did you come up with an onion thought?
It's so
I love it.
funny because I get asked that rather often, and I always laugh because I remember when I came up with it and I went home that day of the trip and wrote about it and was like, I have to change this name. This is ridiculous. Like, this is so stupid. Like, I'll eventually change it. And then I kept writing about it and using the technique over and over again. And then it just stuck and I never ended up changing it. So it is called the thought onion. And it came to me when I think it was on day 1 or 2 of my trip. And it was my first day where I was like really alone and I was walking the streets of London. And had these messages come in from the man that broke up with me before the trip that I was supposed to be on this trip with. And I had this like visceral reaction. And I was conscious enough to be like, okay, why am I having a reaction that's so intense? Like, I have to figure out what's going on here. So, as I was walking the streets of London with like my headphones in, I was like, okay, let's see. This is a very superficial reaction. Like, it was a knee jerk, automatic, like, fuck this dude type of visceral reaction that my body was having. And a lot of times that's when we're coming from a pain place, that's the type of superficial reaction that we have. So the first layer is called the superficial thought. And when you can peel that back, you get to the layer under that, which is called the authentic thought. And that's usually the emotion that is triggering that superficial thought in the first place. So, like, a place of fear or a place of anger, or like, what is the root emotion that is causing that superficial reaction. And then when you peel that back, you get to the subconscious thought, and that's usually where the real healing can take place. And usually that comes from a past trauma or a long stemming subconscious belief. And oftentimes just getting to that and recognizing and discovering what that is can be healing enough. Or you can continue to do work around it and be like, okay, now that I have brought this into my awareness, I need to work on healing that, which can be done through breath work or meditation or, journaling, whatever your method is. But it was my way of really being able to check my emotions and my thoughts and use them as a guide to be like, okay, what is this trying to tell me so that I don't make the same mistakes and have the same reactions in the future?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's why I love that so much is we talk a lot about nervous system over here. I'm a science geek. So the nervous system, the responses, we can't tell sometimes our X from a bear, all
Right.
of that type of stuff really resonates with me and being able to take that step back to kind of peel back to where is this coming from? Because I think a lot of times anger is really rooted in fear and we
Sure.
need to figure out, where our fear comes in. But there's a piece that you just said, and you also say in there where you talk about you have to step back enough to be able to heal. You have to peel it back enough to be able to heal. And I think sometimes we try to put our healing eggs into somebody else's basket. And you have a part in there where I think you told Javier, go deal with your own shit and heal. Don't help me heal mine because you can't
Mhm.
heal me if you're not healed. That is such an elevated thought process. Like so many people don't know how to get there. They want to search for that healing in an unhealed place. How
Mhm.
did so early on in the journey, how did you come to that conclusion?
Well, I think Javier was a really good example of that. So I think there's two different kinds of I know this is such a hot topic word right now, but how love bombing can present itself. There's the one where it's done by a narcissist where they're like, they set your sights on someone and it's like, okay, I'm going to shower this person with love to make them feel a certain way and like gain control over them. I don't think that's what was happening. But the other side of love bombing that can happen is when someone has a void within themselves and they're so desperate to fill that void and like you just said kind of having someone else heal your wounds for you, and that can be really dangerous. And I think that's what happened with Javier was he had lost someone really important in his life and was looking to kind of fill that void and make himself feel better. And when he met me, that feeling started to dissipate. So he was like, oh, I want more. I want more. Like, let's go to Europe. Let's like talk about our future 3 years down the road. Like, this is my girlfriend within the week. And inherently, that is love bombing, but it was coming from a place of trying to fill that emptiness within himself. So when I was able to start recognizing that, it was a very good example for me to be like, okay, I have to go fix whatever is going on within me. He's not going to be the magic band-aid that does that because clearly I didn't do that for him. And it's so important for people, we're so complex as humans, like moving throughout this like weird fucking thing we call life, to know that, you know, it's not another person's responsibility to fix your shit and make you feel better. It is only your responsibility. And, I laugh because you were just talking about, nervous system regulation. And that is like top of the list for me right now because I am parenting a tiny tyrant toddler. And it's a very good lesson in how do you stay regulated and take care of yourself and make sure you're okay in your operating system when something else outside of you is like pushing you to go the other way. It's a whole new level of, heal your own shit and don't take on someone else's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's how we break generational like curses, honestly.
Mhm.
And I feel you on that. My tyrant toddler is now a tyrant 14-year-old. So trying to do the teenage years when I still have a very dysregulated nervous system is one of the main reasons that I chose to write a book and go on this journey. Probably, much like you, trying to figure our own shit out. We started
Sure.
writing about it, and that was a really cathartic thing for me. And I've heard you on other, shows and things like that share that it was for you too. But I know in I know all the vulnerabilities in your books. Y'all go read them, you'll know. But you have no problem sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, all parts of it, which we know writing them down are very helpful for us. But was that ever hard for you? Like while you're trying to regulate your nervous system, you're also sharing all the ugly parts of things that have happened to you. Was that hard for you to find the balance?
I think I was blessed to go through this situation when I was younger and gave a lot less fucks about the perception of things. I remember when I gave my mom kind of like the vomit draft to read, she was like, are you sure you don't want to like change your name or take out one of the guys that you slept with? Like, this is a lot. And I was like, no, it's got to be like real and raw and honest. And that's what's going to make people resonate with it. And that was true. Um, I don't know if I would have shared quite that openly now as a 37-year-old mom. Although I just came out with my third book with my husband, my current husband, which is pretty pretty deep and pretty raw.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think that the fear of judgment was far outweighed by the potential of the people I knew it could heal and help. Um, because people are going to judge you no matter what, whether you air out your dirty laundry in a book or, it's a small group of friends that like got to know something about you. Like you're going to be judged one way or another, and nobody's perfect. So I was like, if I can put all my stuff out there and it's going to help people heal within their own lives, then, bring on the judgment. It was well worth it.
Absolutely. I love that you said that. I have so many people that ask me, they say they want to write a book, and then they're like, what if somebody judges me? And I'm like, honey, they're doing that anyway.
Right, right.
They're, you're not free. No human is free from judgment. So you might as well find some purpose in the pain because you're going to go through the pain of judgment regardless. At least
Yes.
that's
And
might be rationalizing that.
there is no greater humbling experience than reading the negative reviews on a piece of vulnerable art that you put out. I learned very early on in this journey to not do that. I tell any like inspiring authors to not go read any of your negative reviews because they will exist and they are batshit crazy. Art is completely subjective, and they're 90% of the people that read my books are healed and moved and changed and become, fans of mine and feel like they know me from going on this journey with me. And there is a solid 10% that like think I should never pick up a pen and paper again, and like I need to be removed from this earth. I'm so terrible like of a writer. And it's, if you go to the review pages of like your favorite like best-selling beloved books, there will
Oh, yeah.
be hundreds of one-star reviews of people trashing it. Like it's just part of the game. Like judgment is unfortunately a part of life, and the fear of judgment is what keeps people from achieving really incredible things.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. And I feel like I wish you would have given me that advice beforehand because I did go read some of my negative comments. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was such a terrible person from this stranger. But I
Yep.
feel like it's very much the same principle we've been talking about. I want to tell some of those people, go heal and then circle back with me.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have a different perspective once you heal on what you judge and what you don't. So,
Yeah. For real.
but you spoke to something a second ago. Now, I don't know if this is popular opinion, unpopular opinion. I don't really give a shit. But on to my favorite book of yours is this one. It
Yay,
is.
I'm so happy to hear
I
that.
freaking love it. This copy is not going anywhere. I got a signed copy and I literally carried it around my house. I showed my kids. I was like,
Oh my God, I
she
love it.
signed it. It's like it's so exciting. But
Yay.
this book actually came out a couple weeks after my mom passed away. So
Mm.
reading some parts of it were incredibly challenging, but in the most beautiful way possible.
I can't
It
even
was,
imagine. Like the first chapter is literally death of a parent. You're like, "Oh,
yes.
hey,
It's like,
great."
hey, here we are. Here we are, guys. And there's a part in there where Tay says, I think it's like in the first 20 some pages, he's talking about the loss of his mother. And he
Mhm.
says that she was his pillar and his world will forever be tilted with her gone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All
Yeah.
the tears. I think I cried for days over just that sentence.
No.
But it was it was a beautiful pain. Like
Yeah.
just hearing, and I know it says it on the back, you guys can go look at it, but it's how two broken people become whole enough to find each other. And it, the two of you seem like you did a lot of that work before you met each other. And the contrast, my husband and I did a lot of that work while we were together. And we have kind of sort of made it through it. But it made me revisit a few of those moments that we had and
Yeah.
realize, you know what? Becoming whole enough was enough for me, not just
Mm.
him. So it really called a few of those things to the forefront for me. So I mean, this
Oh,
book is it just absolutely incredible.
thank you. I love that so much. I haven't gotten to do enough like, conversations where I've been able to talk about this specific book enough, and that's so wonderful to hear. When we wrote it, I was like, I really don't want it to just be for single people looking to attract a perfect partner into their life. I want it to also be for people who are in any type of relationship, good or bad, that either want to strengthen it or just deepen their connection and find out more about each other and like be entertained while they read it. So that's so lovely to hear. For reference, people that are listening, this book is the third book that I wrote, and I co-wrote it with my current husband. It's called Finding You Through Finding Me. And yeah, I'm really proud of it. I've gotten such like wonderful messages about how it's moved people in different areas because I mean, as you know, there's such a wide array of things that we discuss. There's chapters on
Yeah.
death, like the death of a parent, birth of a child, addiction, divorce, friendship, which was like a big one that I don't think people talk about quite nearly enough. So I'm so glad that it brought you some comfort in that challenging time.
It did. It did in more ways than I can describe, just because you guys do such a good job of talking through all of the different things. Like you said, loss of a parent, addiction. It's all of the things. If you've ever found yourself feeling like you're just burned to complete ashes, your life is never going to be the same again. Like you say, you can't pick yourself up off the bathroom floor for whatever reason. You can fill in the blank so easily with this book, and you're going to be able to resonate so much with so many of the different pieces. I could be a little biased just because it came at such a heavy time for me. And it really, I don't know, it felt like the hug I needed because it
Oh,
had a lot of people around me understood some of the parts and pieces. I mean, hell, through our divorce and things like that, we had a great support system, but nobody really got it. And then when you
yeah.
lose a parent, you can't put that into words where people understand it unless they've been through it. So having that was like having a hand to hold through the process. So I just hats off to you and Tay. And I will definitely put in the notes where you can find this book because all three are fantastic. I also have her journal, Fuck Off, I'm Healing. It is all marked up with the pages all scarred up, but that'll be in there. But there's one thing that I do kind of want to say because I feel like you'll give me, the blunt answer to this. You have on there that people can find their own happily ever after because it's completely within your own control to find it.
Mhm.
What about when you have those people that come to you and say, yeah, but no, I can't because do you have any advice for them
I
when they think they
do.
can't?
I do, and it is blunt and it'll trigger some people. So here we go. um,
Welcome to the show.
yeah, if you are experiencing anything in your life in any sector, relationship, financial, whatever, if there is a pattern that you are noticing, there is something within you that is attracting that. And I know that's hard to hear. It doesn't mean that you deserve, you know, the shitty treatment at work or the relationships that are falling apart or the men that are cheating on you. Like it doesn't mean that you're deserving of that, but you have to take responsibility in the fact that there is something within you that needs to be healed or adjusted or realigned to attract something different. So I'll give my example of this. I lost my dad pretty traumatically when I was 7, walked in, found him dead on the floor from a heart attack. And in that moment, my little 7-year-old brain said, oh, when I love someone, they die. That was my belief and my narrative that was imprinted into me, not by choice. And as I, continued on and healed and went about my life, I then lost my high school sweetheart from a car accident when I was 18. Again, oh, when I love someone, they die. And again, this is all subconscious. I wasn't like realizing that this was happening, but this is like what happens when we're young. We like have experiences, they affect us, and then they leave subconscious beliefs within us. And as adults, it's our responsibility to figure out what those are and heal them. And so when I love someone, they die, what that translates to is when I love someone, they leave, because that's what dying is, whether it's by choice or not. And so subconsciously, I started attracting a bunch of men that would abandon me in some way, shape, or form, because then my brain could be like, see, I knew this was going to happen. I was right. We're technically safe, which is so ass backwards, obviously. But I had to take responsibility for the fact that I was attracting these people into my life. So I attracted my ex-husband who abandoned me by disrespecting our marriage vows and cheating and leaving. And then instead of looking at that and healing that belief, I attracted Javier, who abandoned me quite literally 2 days before we were getting on a plane on a trip he invited me to. It was like very literal, and the universe was like, hello, can we see this now? And I finally was like, oh shit, like I'm a part of this. And it wasn't until I went on that Europe trip and was able to figure out how to be alone and how to be okay by myself, and so much other healing that took place, that I was able to shift that belief and attract someone who would not abandon me. So if there's anyone that's coming to you with the yeah, but, or yeah, this is the reason why I can't, but yeah, all men are assholes, or well, I just don't have the money to, there is something within you that is creating and believing that. And until you take responsibility for that and fix that and shift that, you're going to be stuck in this hamster wheel of bullshit that has been created in your life. And it's very possible to get out of that, but you have to start by pointing the finger back at yourself and being like, why did I create this? Because all of our life is creation. So even the bad stuff, you created that in some way, shape, or form, whether it was conscious or
Yes.
not.
Oh, for those of you not watching on video, I am clapping because yes, that is all of the words and things. And I know right now healing is a hot button word too. Everybody's talking about how to heal, but healing can mean different things for different people. It just kind of depends on what you're healing and what that looks like. Some of us, it's nervous system dysregulation. Some of it's, addiction control, things like that. But, you know, it is within your power, and I usually tell people you can't heal what you won't face. And if you're not going to take that hard look in the mirror and face what your role is in it, and not place the blame on everybody and spiral it out outside of you, you're never actually going to be able to heal that part of you, whatever part of you that may be. You have to open it up and look at it. And I would say a really good way to start doing that is writing, is journaling, and using the thought onion. Definitely do that and start, peeling back those layers and seeing, because the ever after, whatever that is, your happily ever after, you deserve it. And I think people need to hear that they deserve it, whatever that may look like for them.
And I think that's why what inspired me to create the journal in the first place, which, as you know, has a bunch of like prompts and really like guides people through step by step what they need to be thinking about. Because you can sit down and stare at a blank page and you're like, okay, but like I don't even know where to start. What am I supposed to be like looking at within my own life? And the journal is really good for people who are ready to face some shit but don't necessarily know the questions they need to be asked to dig into that. And so it's definitely not for people who aren't ready, but if you are ready, that's a good place to start and have me tough love but hold your hand while we dig into it.
Yes, it is tough love, but it does still feel like hand holding. And I will say that it is one of the top three guided journals that I use with my authors that come to me. So
Oh,
when I do the nervous system approach to writing coaching through publishing, I use a lot of journaling, and yours is one of the top three because it is
thank you.
definitely it caused me to take a step back and kind of say, okay, what shit do I need to face here? Because it wasn't all about everybody else. Courtney's
Right.
not perfect. And I know anybody listening to this that judges me, yes, I said it. I'll say it again. I'm not perfect. But I had to take that moment to self reflect, and it definitely helped me. So we will link in the show notes the journal, the Fuck Off I'm Healing journal. And then I also will link Gabrielle's other books, all of them, because I want everybody to get them. But if anybody wants more blunt hand holding, can you tell us where they can find you?
Yes, all the blunt hand holding. So I'm on Instagram at Gabrielle Stone and on TikTok at Gabrielle_Stone. And all of the books, the merch, all of the links for everything you can find on eatprayfml.com. I have all of the books signed. And then you can also get them on Amazon if you just search my name or search the book's name. The first one is Eat, Pray, FML. The sequel to that is The Ridiculous Misadventures of a Single Girl. The third book that my husband and I just co-wrote together, which is separate. You don't need to read that with the first two. It can stand on its own, is Finding You Through Finding Me. And then the journal is Fuck Off, I'm Healing.
Yes. And for those of you not watching on video, I just held up all three of those. So
I love it.
go grab them.
They're also
They are
all
absolutely.
well, they're all except for the third one on audiobook too, if you want to have me in your ears for 12 hours.
I don't know why anybody wouldn't. Like I said, blunt hand holding is better in audio form. So
I love it. I
we
love it.
absolutely love it. Thank you again so much for taking your time. I know you're busy, mama, you're a tyrant toddler. So thank you for taking the time to come and chat with us and handhold us today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And you didn't stutter once. Let's just point that out. You were flawless in this interview. So kudos, girl.
Thank you. I had a win. Maybe finally at 41 years old, I'm finally getting over my stutter. We'll
I
see.
love it. You're beautiful and wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being with us today and happy rewriting, y'all.